Smell expensive for less. What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Darren, the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. What's up? What's up? What's up? On this channel, we jump into fragrances as well as fashion. The two F's. The two F's. Fragrances as well as fashion. So if you like looking good and smelling great, this is the channel for you, man. Because I talk about both of them over here. I'm not going to have you out here smelling good if you don't look good as well. So that's what we're doing. That's how we rocking over here. So if you like fragrance and fashion, then I recommend you click that subscribe button and make sure you hit the bell icon as well to make sure you get notified anytime I upload new content on the channel. So guys, you see the title of today's video, man. I'm going to talk to you about 10 fragrances that I have in my collection that smell like more expensive fragrances. But these fragrances are very, very inexpensive. Listen, you don't have to spend a lot of money to smell great. Now, these fragrances may not perform as great or be used or have as quality materials that were used into making the raw materials that went into making these fragrances, like the fragrances that I will be talking about, their more expensive counterpart. But at the end of the day, here's the reality. 90% of the world has never heard of Acqu Di Gio, and 99% of the world, if you wore Club de Nuit Intense for Man, for instance, and you wore Acqu Di Gio, would not be able to tell the difference. So those are facts. And what is also a fact is that you can find a bottle of Club de Nuit Intense for Man for under $30, and it costs upwards, no matter where you look, $300+ for a bottle of Acqu Di Gio. And those, my friends, are what we call straight facts. So on today's video, if you're interested in smelling great and smelling like more expensive fragrances, but not having to spend the expensive money, then you're going to enjoy this list. I have 10 fragrances here for you that you will be interested in. So if you want to see what's on the list, you know the routine, man. Keep it locked right here. All right, guys, we're back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. We're going to jump into this list. Now, I will say we're not really going into notes and things of that nature on today's video. I just want to show you these fragrances and tell you what they smell like. And if I can find them online, I will make sure I link them down below so you can check these out. But from what I see here, there is nothing on this list that would cost you more than $40. So that's how we rock. And let's go ahead and get into it. Now, I try not to use all of the typical ones. Like I mentioned in the opening segment of the video, I talked about Club de Nuit Intense Man and Acqu Di Gio. Like everybody knows about that fragrance pretty much by now. So I didn't include those kind of fragrances on this list, but there are a few that you may be familiar with. But there's a lot on here that either you're not familiar with, or a lot of people just don't talk about these alternatives to these more expensive fragrances. So the first one is a little bit more familiar, so it's an honorable mention. But listen, man, if you like Creed's Millesime Imperial, I think this is one of the best options out there, and you don't want to spend that money from the house of Sean John. This one is called Unforgivable. Unforgivable. It's not 100% clone of Millesime Imperial, but it's definitely going to put you in the mindset of Millesime Imperial. I used to rock this fragrance all the time, man. In high school, going into my college years, this was like my signature scent. And at the time, just like there's a lot of people out there, I didn't know anything about Millesime Imperial, but this did the job. It's a great alternative to that fragrance. Of course, anything from Creed, you know, even at discounters, you're paying upwards of $200 for, and this one you can find for about $35 or less. So check it out, man. If you like Millesime Imperial but don't want to spend that money, then you might want to put your nose on this from the house of Sean John. This is called Unforgivable. The next fragrance on this list comes from the house of Haramain. Haramain, which is not a fragrance house that gets a lot of attention on this channel, but this is a really good fragrance alternative. This one is called Royal Stallion. Royal Stallion. Now, what does this fragrance smell like? This one smells like Pegasus from Parfums de Marly. Now, this one is more of a clone because this is about 97% similar to my nose. And unlike some of the other fragrances on this list where when you compare them to the original, they really fail in the area of performance. Like, that's one of the things I will say. A lot of these don't give you anywhere near the performance of the original, but not in this case. This one gives me really, really solid performance. As a matter of fact, most of the fragrances I have put my nose on from this company do pretty well in performance. They're more closer to like how Armaf does fragrances. They really do a great job of capturing the scent DNA and really cloning a fragrance, but also not skimping that much on the performance. That's something you'll get here, but this smells very, very similar to Pegasus. So if you like that one, this is a great, less expensive alternative from the house of Haramain. This is called Royal Stallion. All right, guys, the next fragrance on this list, this one comes from the house of Dunhill, and this is called Dunhill Desire. Dunhill Desire. And what does this smell like, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. I thought you never would ask. This one smells very, very similar to one of my favorite fragrances from Bond Number 9, which is Lafayette Street. This smells very similar to Lafayette Street. I wouldn't call it a clone, of course, but man, you definitely can detect a very strong similarity between the two fragrances. And of course, I will tell you, of all of the Bond Number 9 fragrances that are not discontinued, to me, Lafayette Street is a little bit harder to find than some of the other ones. It's not as accessible on discounted websites and things of that nature. Usually when you find a Lafayette Street on a discounter site, a lot of times it's sold out. It's a very, very good fragrance from, of course, Bond Number 9, one of my favorites from the house. And of course, if you don't want to spend that kind of money and want to get an idea of what that fragrance smells like, check out Dunhill Desire from the house of Dunhill. This is a really, really solid option that you don't have to spend a lot of money for. All right, guys, now the next fragrance on this list, this fragrance comes from the house of Lacoste, and this one is called Magnetic. This is called Magnetic, and this one is from the L1212 line. I mean, a lot of people know about the L1212 Blanc or Pure or whatever, white, whatever some people refer to it as. It has a lot of different names. And that fragrance is the more popular fragrance from the L1212 line. But this one is really, really solid, man. I don't hear a lot of people talk about Magnetic. And again, it smells very, very similar to Creed's Green Irish Tweed. Now, I know there are a lot of fragrances out there that mimic the Green Irish Tweed DNA. It's not as many as Aventus, but there are starting to be more and more fragrances that pop up that are kind of at least borrowing elements from the Green Irish Tweed DNA. This fragrance right here is a good, not clone, but one that I would say is definitely in that inspired by category, because it doesn't smell exactly like that. But if you like Green Irish Tweed, it definitely gives you a very, very similar vibe to Green Irish Tweed. And again, just like the other fragrances I've already mentioned, you can find this for less than $50. So check this one out from the L1212 line of Lacoste. This one is called Magnetic. All right, guys, the next fragrance up on the list, this fragrance comes from the house of Ermenegildo Zegna, and this one is called Acqua Di Bergamasco. Acqua Di Bergamasco. Now, nobody really talks about this fragrance a whole lot, and I don't know why, but if you want a fragrance that's nice for the spring and summer, this is one that I highly, highly recommend. The fragrance that this one reminds me of is a fragrance from the house of Xerjoff, which is Xerjoff Neo. Now, once again, definitely not an all-out clone, but definitely is going to put you in the same mindset of Xerjoff Neo, or even like a Bergamot 22 from Le Labo. But this to me is an amazing scent. You know, it doesn't give that stellar performance for an aquatic like you're going to get from Neo, but man, if you're just looking for something that smells good, it's going to put you in that mindset, this is one that I highly recommend that you check out. I definitely feel like you won't be disappointed as far as what it smells like. It smells amazing. So check it out, man. Again, this is from Ermenegildo Zegna, which to me is more well known for their clothing, specifically their menswear line. Make some very, very quality menswear, suits, shoes, shirts, etc., ties, pocket squares. But this is a great fragrance as well. Again, this one is called Acqua Di Bergamasco. All right, guys, the next fragrance on the list, please don't be turned off by the bottle. This fragrance comes from the house of Vince Camuto, and this is called Virtue. Virtue. Now, this to me looks like the same pants that Eddie Murphy wore in Eddie Murphy Raw. It might not have been Raw, but it was another Eddie Murphy, because I think in Raw he had on red leather pants. There was a special that he did. I think he had on some black leather pants, man. But that's what I think about when I look at this bottle. I will admit the bottle's kind of tacky because it doesn't even look like, even resemble real leather. This looks 100% like faux leather plastic. But anyway, moving past the exterior, the tacky exterior of this bottle, man, if you like Le Labo Santal 33, this fragrance smells about 95% similar. Now, I haven't run across many fragrances that really copy the Santal 33 DNA, which is an amazing sandalwood fragrance from Le Labo. But man, if you like that fragrance and you don't want to spend upwards of $200, this is a fragrance that you need to put your nose on, because you can probably find this one for less than $25. And I'm telling you guys, it smells about 95% similar to Santal 33. So check it out. Again, this one is from the house of Vince Camuto, and this is called Virtue. All right, guys, the next fragrance up on the list, this one comes from the house of Banana Republic, and this one is called Rosewood Amore. Rosewood Amore. Now, I think this one was released in their women's collection. And this fragrance, if you look at the bottle, you'll probably be able to tell what it is mimicking, and that is Baccarat Rouge 540. Now, just like Creed Aventus, there are millions upon millions of Baccarat Rouge 540 fragrances. And I wanted to mention this one because I haven't really heard many people mention this particular fragrance. Banana Republic as a fragrance house doesn't get much talk at all. But again, if you're looking for something that is very similar to Baccarat Rouge 540, and you're tired of hearing about all the other 1 million clones out there of that DNA, check this one out, because you can get this for the low, man, for under 25 bucks. Again, this one is called Rosewood Amore. All right, guys, the next fragrance up on this list, another fragrance from Banana Republic. As a matter of fact, there are 3 fragrances from Banana Republic on this list, but this one is called Tobacco and Tonka Bean. Tobacco and Tonka Bean, and again, this one is definitely not a clone of this fragrance I'm about to mention, but if you like this kind of fragrance, then I think you would enjoy a fragrance like this. This one reminds me a little bit, at least the Tonka Bean in it reminds me a little bit of what you will find in Black Phantom. Again, Black Phantom doesn't have tobacco in it, so again, it's not a clone. But if you like a fragrance like Black Phantom, then I'm pretty sure for a less expensive price point, which again, this is another fragrance you can find for around 20 bucks. This is going to give you, put you in that kind of mindset. You know, there's something that's a little bit slightly boozy about it, but it's really about the 2 notes that they mentioned here, tobacco and Tonka Bean. It's an amazing fragrance for the price. It doesn't last that long, but again, if you like fragrances like that, like Black Phantom or maybe like Angel Share from By Killian, then this is a good alternative type fragrance that'll give you that same kind of sweet Tonka Bean kind of fragrance. So check it out, man, from the house of Banana Republic. Again, this one is called Tobacco and Tonka Bean. All right, guys, and next up on the list, man, I'm smiling because I used to rock the heck out of this fragrance, man. This one is from the house of Cuba Paris, and this is called Cuba Gold. Cuba Gold. Man, listen, I used to buy bottle after bottle of this stuff because you guys probably know you can find this for about 10 bucks. And it smells very, very close to Jean Paul Gaultier Lamel. And I remember being in college, and this gentleman used to work in Belk. I used to go in there all the time shopping, and he used to smell amazing. I was like, man, what is it that you're wearing? And he used to have the smaller bottle of this, and he used to keep it right in his pocket. And he pulled it out, and he was like, man, this is right here, Cuba. And he was like, you can find this for about 10 bucks. And I remember the first time I tried to remember what it was, I went and bought the wrong thing. I bought a fragrance that looked like cigars. It's called Cuban, but it's like a cigar fragrance. It doesn't smell anything like this. But anyway, I found it, man, and I used to rock the heck out of this probably around 2010, 11. This is all I wore for a while. But sentimental fragrance to me, as you can see, the bottle is starting to kind of chip. I've had this one for a while. Don't really wear that much anymore, of course, but man, if you like Jean Paul Gaultier Lamel or fragrances like that, this thing right here you can find for about 10 to 15 bucks pretty much anywhere fragrances are sold, and it smells absolutely amazing and it performs well as well. So check it out. This is called Cuba Gold. All right, guys, now the next fragrance up on this list, again, we're talking about another fragrance that really resembles a very popular Creed vintage. It's hard to make a list like this and not mention in a vintage type clone, but I wanted to mention one that doesn't get as much talk as some of the other fragrances that really match or copied that DNA. And this one is from the House of Banana Republic. Again, this one is called Black Walnut Legend. Black Walnut Legend. Now, I've heard some other people mention this fragrance, and again, to me, at least the opening of this for about 10 minutes is going to smell about 90% similar to Creed Vintage. Now, as it starts to dry down, to me, it kind of goes its own way a little bit. But again, it's just another very inexpensive alternative. If you like Creed Vintage and you're like me, you got a 4-ounce bottle and you're not trying to waste what you have left, and you're just on one of those days, man, whether it's just running errands or going to work, this is a good work scent as well. And you kind of want to get that Creed Vintage feel for the day and don't want to spray your Creed Vintage. This is a nice little alternative, man, that's inexpensive. So check it out from the House of Banana Republic. Again, this is called Black Walnut Legend. And last but not least on this list of inexpensive fragrances that smell more like expensive fragrances, this is one of the more popular, well-known clones, but I haven't really talked about it a lot on this channel, so I thought I would mention it, man. This one is from Michael Jordan. This is called Michael Jordan Legend. Michael Jordan Legend. And of course, man, you know you can find this fragrance for about 15 bucks. And it smells to me very similar to a discontinued fragrance from Bond No. 9, which is Bond No. 9's New Harlem. Now, that is a fragrance that a lot of people have been petitioning Bond No. 9 to bring it back and bring it back, but to this date and time, up to now, they still have not done so. But it is a fragrance that smells just like breakfast. It smells like pancakes and syrup. And although that may not sound like the most appealing thing, a lot of people really love that fragrance. It had a nice kind of cult following when it was in production. But again, you can't find that bottle anymore. And when you do find it, people are selling it for upwards of $350, $400 if you can find a bottle of New Harlem because it's discontinued. But again, a beautiful alternative for about 15 bucks is this right here, Michael Jordan Legend. It still gives you that very sweet, kind of syrupy, pancake kind of vibe. A lot of people say this smells like Rojas Man as well, which I would definitely agree with that. But that fragrance is not that expensive as well. So if we're talking about a more expensive fragrance, a nice alternative that's not so expensive, then if you're interested in trying to put your nose on New Harlem and you can't, check out Michael Jordan's Legend because it's very, very similar to that New Harlem DNA. All right, guys, that's it. That's my time, man. I hope you enjoyed this video today as I gave you 10 inexpensive fragrances that smell like more expensive fragrances. As always, I appreciate your time and your attention to these videos because, of course, you could have been doing anything else in the world, but you took a few moments to watch and listen. I don't take that for granted. I sincerely appreciate that. And don't forget to take a few moments to make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you share these videos out to some other folks that you think could use this information or find it entertaining because I'm your guy, the bow tie fragrance guy. I love to look good, and of course, I love to smell amazing. So until next time, guys, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you on the flip side.